Ladies and gentlemen, you've stepped out here today because something inside you is nudging, no, demanding to be greater. Every one of you has that fire inside, but fire, unchecked, can burn a home down. It needs channeling, discipline. That's the first step. Recognizing that while passion lights the flame, it's hard work that feeds it. You don't get to wake up and declare yourself successful. You show up day after day with grit, with intention, ready to do what the person before you didn't. And that's what separates you. Now listen, excuses are affordable. Everybody's got them. Bad day, blame it. Traffic, sure, didn't sleep well, fine. But those excuses don't build muscle. They break your backbone. When you wake up in the morning, the mirror doesn't ask why you're tired. It asks what you're going to do about it. Are you gonna let fatigue define your day, or are you going to define your fatigue? Opportunity doesn't come to the lazy. It doesn't whisper sweet nothings to the comfortable. It challenges the uncomfortable, the persistent, the ones who refuse to quit. So ask yourself, what are you chasing? Title, paycheck, recognition, that's fine. But chase discipline harder, because the title can come and go. The paycheck, it fluctuates. You want something that lasts. Let discipline anchor you. See, working harder isn't about grinding yourself into dust. It's about going deeper, being smarter, leaning into what hurts. You've heard the phrase, no pain, no gain. Here's what it really means. Without exploring the edges of your own limits, you won't know what's inside. When you push past the alarm clock that begged you to snooze, when you stick it out through that extra mile, when your lungs burn, something shifts. That's not weakness fading, that's power dawning. Understand though, this path is lonely. You're going to walk when everybody else sleeps. You'll take cold showers when they're cozy in their beds. You'll study while they party. You'll rise before daylight, stay after sundown, and when everyone's resting, you're reflecting. That solitude can be heavy, but instead of treading it like sorrow, use it. In that quiet, build your resolve. In that stillness, cultivate your vision. In that isolation, craft your character. Don't misunderstand me. Working harder is not about punishing yourself. It's about honoring what you've been given. The single greatest gift is your potential. And someone once said, your best work is the only work worth doing. Every time you show up, give that gift to the world. Show up for others. Show up for your future self. Because someday, you'll look back and discover that the real treasure wasn't in what you achieved. It was in who you became along the way. So start today. Make one decision. I will outwork the person I was yesterday. Through every setback, every sting of failure, let your mind say, good, let me learn. You'll stand taller, move sharper, and refuse to settle. Your effort will speak loudest when words are quiet, and the world listens to that kind of conviction. Everybody wants something, that's the truth of it. Everybody's got dreams, visions, some kind of picture in their head of what life could look like, what success would feel like. Maybe it's a big house. Maybe it's putting your kids through college. Maybe it's standing on a stage, people clapping, knowing your name. But the difference between those who dream and those who live their dreams is simple. It comes down to how they respond when it's time to go to work. And the truth, most people don't have a discipline problem. They have an excuse addiction. Excuses are seductive. They wrap themselves around you like a warm blanket on a cold morning. You didn't sleep well. That's okay, you can skip the workout. Rough day at work, no shame in quitting early. Traffic was bad, take tomorrow off. But let me tell you something. Those excuses, they don't just steal your time. They rob you of your edge. They eat your confidence alive. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're teaching yourself that average is acceptable, that almost is good enough, that mediocrity is a lifestyle you're willing to live with. Now discipline, that's different. Discipline doesn't feel good. It doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired or frustrated or overwhelmed. Discipline knocks on your door at 5 a.m. when your bed is warm and your dreams are sweet and says, get up, there's work to be done. And it ain't glamorous. It ain't flashy. Discipline is boring sometimes. It's repetitive. But it's consistent, and consistency, that's what builds champions. See, Discipline means showing up even when the mood doesn't. It means doing what needs to be done not when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because discipline is rooted in respect for yourself, for your goals, for your future. It says, I'm not going to cheat myself out of the life I deserve, no matter how tempting the shortcuts look. You want a powerful life? Start by doing the small things well. That's discipline. Make your bed. Show up early. Stay late. Keep your word. Train your body. Guard your time. Discipline doesn't need applause. It doesn't look for validation. It's quiet, but it moves mountains, one brick at a time. You might not see the payoff today. Maybe not tomorrow, but it's building something, slowly, steadily, brick by brick. One choice stacked on another, and one day you'll look around and realize you've built a life you don't need to escape from. Excuses are always convenient. They will always be waiting for you. They speak in your voice. They feel reasonable. I just need a break. I'll start fresh next week. This isn't the right time. You know what that really is. Fear. Fear dressed up in logic. Fear pretending to be your friend. Because if fear can keep you soft, keep you small, keep you second, guessing, then it wins. But when discipline walks in, fear leaves the room, because fear can't survive where action lives. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you train, like a muscle, like a habit. Every time you do the hard thing when no one's watching, you get stronger. Every time you say yes to the grind and no to the excuse, you move 1 inch closer to your goals. And it adds up. That inch becomes a mile. That mile becomes a marathon. You start to realize that greatness isn't a destination. It's a decision made moment by moment, day after day. There will be days you fall short. That's real. Discipline doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you don't give up just because things got ugly. It means you dust yourself off, learn the lesson, and come back swinging. Because life doesn't reward the perfect. It rewards the relentless. The ones who keep showing up, who keep doing the work, who keep honoring the commitment they made to themselves long after the feeling they made it in has disappeared. You've got to stop negotiating with your potential. Stop making deals with your doubt. Your dreams don't live in the land of excuses. They live on the far side of effort. They live where it's uncomfortable, where the air is thin, where most people turn back. And if you want to reach them, you have to earn your way there with sweat, with patience, with self-control, not once in a while, every day. Nobody ever looked back on their life and said, I'm glad I gave up early. Nobody writes a book about the time they hit snooze instead of showing up. What people remember, what defines them, is how they kept pushing when others quit, how they stuck with it when the fire burned out, how they stayed disciplined when excuses came knocking. You want to be proud of the person in the mirror. Give that person a reason to hold their head high, not because they had an easy life, but because they did what was hard again and again, even when it would have been easier to quit. The people who rise in this world are the ones who refuse to stay grounded. They don't rise by accident. They rise because they train themselves to move even when it hurt. When discipline becomes your standard, not your struggle, that's when the game changes. You're not fighting against yourself anymore. You're working with yourself. You're not making choices based on how you feel in the moment. You're making them based on who you're becoming. And that version of you, that version doesn't need motivation to get started. They've got something stronger. They've got a standard they refuse to lower. A fire they refuse to let die out. That's the work. That's the cost. That's the road. It's not easy, but it's real. And it's yours to walk. Pain is not the enemy. It's the teacher. It's the mirror that shows you what you're made of when everything easy has been stripped away. Anybody can perform when things are smooth. Anybody can smile when the sun is shining. But who are you when it's cold, when it's dark, when the weight is too heavy and no one's watching? That's the question. That's where strength is born, not in comfort, not in applause, in pain. People run from pain like it's poison. They treat it like failure, like punishment, but pain, real, honest soul. Cutting pain is the birthplace of growth. You want to get stronger, lift heavier. You want to get wiser, fail harder. You want to be better. Then go through worse. You don't level up in life by avoiding the struggle. You level up by surviving it, by submitting to it, and coming out the other side forged like steel. See, there's a kind of pain that doesn't just hurt, it changes you. The kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night, that makes you question everything. The kind that breaks you open. But here's what they don't tell you. Being broken isn't the end. It's the beginning. Because once you're broken, now you're moldable, now you're real. Now you're humble enough to listen, raw enough to feel, strong enough to rebuild. Pain demands your attention. It silences the noise. It strips away the ego, the fluff, the distractions. Pain gets right to the core. It asks, are you serious, or are you just pretending? Because if you're just playing at this, whatever dream you say you're chasing, pain will expose that. It will reveal every crack, every shortcut you tried to take, every moment you weren't all in. And if you're not real about your purpose, pain will make you quit. That's its power. But if you are real, if you've decided deep in your bones that this matters, then pain becomes your fuel. It becomes your edge. You stop running from it and you start learning from it. Pain has a way of forcing you to pay attention. You don't get to ignore it. You don't get to scroll past it. When it shows up, it demands you respond. And how you respond, that's where everything changes. You either get bitter or you get better. You either shrink or you rise, and rising, that takes fight, that takes resilience, that takes staring down what hurt you and saying, you will not define me. The people who build something lasting, the people you admire, the legends, the warriors, they've all gone through it. They didn't just wake up with greatness. They suffered, they stumbled, they bled, they cried when no one saw. But they didn't stop. They let pain shape them. They let it refine their focus, sharpen their instincts, deepen their fire. Because once you've been through real pain, you don't waste time on small things. You don't get distracted by opinions or envy or comfort. You move different. You move with purpose, and don't get it twisted. Pain isn't just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's losing someone you love and still waking up the next day. It's failing publicly and walking back into the room with your head high. It's hearing no 100 times and still believing in your yes. That kind of pain, the invisible kind, that's what builds the strongest people. Because it's not about what happens to you, it's about what you do with it. The gym doesn't get easier. Life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. You adapt. You expand. What crushed you last year doesn't even move you now. Why? Because pain changed you. It gave you new legs to stand on, new lungs to breathe through it. Every setback became a setup. Every loss taught you how to win, and every tear taught you what joy really feels like. You have to get to a place where pain doesn't scare you anymore, where discomfort doesn't send you running. You look it in the eye and say, you're part of this, you're necessary, because the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Not the warm fire, not the gentle fire, the scorching one, the one that makes you question whether you'll make it through. That's where your strength is born, that's where your character is refined. Stop praying for an easy life. Start preparing for a meaningful one, because meaning comes from struggle. It comes from sacrifice. It comes from pushing when your body says no and your soul whispers yes. It comes from dragging yourself across the finish line, bloody and bruised, but undefeated. And when you get there, when you earn your success, you won't thank ease, you'll thank the pain. You'll thank every late night, every cold morning, every lonely decision to keep going. You'll remember the silence. The solitude. You'll remember the voice in your head that said, just give up. And how you answered back, not today. That's the moment that makes you, not the trophy, not the applause, the moment you wanted to quit but didn't. That's what builds power. That's what builds a legacy. You have to change your relationship with pain. Stop treating it like the villain. Start treating it like the architect. Pain builds you. It designs you. It tears down the weak parts and forces you to rebuild stronger. Every time it hits, you get to decide. Break down or break through. And if you break through enough times, you become unbreakable. You've got to fall in love with the process. With the sweat, with the soreness, with the self-doubt that comes creeping in and the discipline that shuts it down, with the grind that feels like it's getting you nowhere, until one day you look back and realize you're not even the same person. You've evolved, you've elevated, you've earned your place not just in the world, but in your own eyes, and don't wait for pain to come find you. Chase it. Chase the hard things, the scary things, the uncomfortable conversations, the impossible goals. Chase what forces you to stretch, because the wider you stretch, the bigger your capacity becomes. And when you live at your full capacity, that's when you're dangerous. That's when you're unstoppable. Not because life stopped hurting, but because you stopped letting it hold you back. Isolation is one of those things that nobody teaches you how to handle. It creeps in slow, like a fog. Sometimes you choose it, sometimes it chooses you. Either way, if you're going to chase something bigger than average, you'll meet it. That's not a maybe, that's a guarantee. You want to be uncommon, then prepare to be alone, because the road to greatness doesn't run through crowds. It cuts straight through silence, through solitude, through moments where it's just you and your thoughts. And that's where most people turn around. You don't discover who you are in a room full of people. You don't find your voice when everyone's shouting around you. You find it when the noise stops. You find it in the quiet. That's where identity is shaped. Not with applause, but with reflection. When there's nobody around to validate you, nobody watching, nobody caring whether you win or lose, that's when you learn what you're really about. That's when you learn what you actually believe. It's in that space, uncomfortable as it is, where growth starts. People avoid isolation because it forces them to face themselves. There's no hiding, no distractions, no pretending. You're stripped of every role you play, every mask you wear, and what's left is raw, unfiltered truth. And that truth can sting. It can show you how far you've got to go. It can remind you of everything you've been ignoring, but it can also reveal your strength, your grit, your purpose. That's the gift of being alone. It clarifies, it sharpens, it reveals. There's a difference between loneliness and isolation. Loneliness is a feeling. Isolation is an environment, and when you're intentional about it, isolation becomes a weapon. While everybody else is looking for attention, you're building something in the dark. While they're chasing likes, you're stacking discipline. While they're searching for validation, you're searching for mastery. Isolation becomes a place where transformation happens, where distractions are removed and focus becomes pure. You realize that you don't need constant noise to feel alive. You need direction. You need purpose. You need to be at peace with your own presence. You look at the greats, the ones who did something that shifted the world, and you'll find solitude in their story. You think they became who they are at parties. In comfort, surrounded by praise, no. They became who they are in the gym when it was empty, in the studio when it was quiet, in the office after hours. They put in work when no one was clapping. They made sacrifices no one ever saw. And that's what made them, the ability to show up with no audience, to perform without recognition, to be excellent when no one's watching. There's power in that kind of isolation. It breeds focus. It builds resolve. You begin to realize that you're not working for attention anymore. You're working for impact. You're not trying to be seen. You're trying to be significant. That shift right there, that's what changes everything. Because once you stop needing the crowd, you stop being controlled by it. You're no longer a prisoner to trends, to opinions, to expectations. You become rooted in your values, guided by your vision. But isolation isn't easy. It tests you. It brings up doubts you didn't know were still hiding. It makes you question whether what you're doing even matters. And in those moments, you have to remind yourself why you started. You've got to dig deep into that well of purpose and pull something out that keeps you going. Because when you're isolated, your thoughts get louder, and not all of them will be kind. Some will try to break you. Some will try to talk you out of it. But if you can learn to talk back, if you can learn to fight those voices with truth, with action, with unshakable belief, you become bulletproof. You can't build something lasting if you're always looking for someone to hold your hand. You've got to be willing to walk alone sometimes. You've got to be okay with silence, okay with not being understood, okay with being different, because the path to becoming who you're meant to be will often separate you from who you've been and who you've been around. That's not betrayal, that's evolution. Growth always costs something. And sometimes what it costs is company. People will ask where you've been. And the answer is simple: working, thinking, building, healing. Becoming, because isolation isn't about disappearing. It's about returning stronger. It's about stepping back so you can step up. It's about pulling away so you can realign, refocus, and reemerge with more clarity, more hunger, more depth. And when you do come back, when you've spent that time in the dark preparing, it shows you move different. You don't seek approval anymore. You don't need to be the loudest. You've got quiet confidence now. You've got internal validation, you've got direction, and nothing is more dangerous than a person with direction and peace, because you can't bribe them with praise and you can't scare them with silence. What you do in isolation is what determines how you perform in public. That's the secret nobody wants to talk about. It's not about showing up when everyone's watching. It's about putting in the reps when no one is. It's about holding the standard when no one's around to enforce it. That's integrity, that's ownership. That's where the real work gets done. If you've been isolated lately, if you've been feeling like no one gets it, like no one sees you, good. That means you're in the space where identity is being shaped. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. Positioned to come back sharper. Positioned to come back with something real. Something that wasn't handed to you, but earned in the shadows. Use that space. Don't waste it scrolling. Don't drown it in distractions. Sit with it, work in it, build in it. Let it stretch you. Let it reveal to you who you really are. Because once you meet that version of yourself, once you build in silence what others only talk about in noise, there's no going back. You won't want to go back, because you'll know what it's like to live in alignment, to walk in purpose, to be forged in isolation and emerge unshaken. Every single day you open your eyes, you get one shot to do it better than you did yesterday. That's it, one shot. You don't get to rewind. You don't get to pause time. You don't get extra credit for intentions. The scoreboard doesn't care what you plan to do, it counts what you actually did. So if you're serious about this life, about these goals, about becoming the kind of person who commands respect, you've got to outwork yesterday. Not once in a while. Not when it's convenient, every single day. People think greatness is some kind of magic, some talent you're born with, but here's the truth. Greatness is built in inches, not miles. It's in the reps, the routines, the early mornings, the late nights. It's built in the moments when no one is watching, and you decide to go one more round, read one more page, push for one more second. That's how you outwork yesterday, not by being perfect, but by being relentless. You don't need to be twice as good as you were yesterday. You just need to be better. That's it. A little faster, a little more focused, a little more locked in. Compound that over time, and the results become undeniable. The discipline becomes instinct. The edge becomes sharper. You don't need to chase motivation. You've built momentum. Most people lose because they're looking too far ahead. They're chasing 10 years from now, but can't even win the next 10 minutes. The secret: win today, win the next hour. Master the moment in front of you. When you stack those wins, when you focus on outperforming yesterday's version of you, you create a rhythm of excellence that compounds over time. That version of you yesterday, whether they crushed it or coasted, they're not your ceiling, they're your baseline. You're not competing with anyone else. Not the guy on the bench next to you, not the girl with more followers, not the friend with the better car. None of that matters. What matters is the battle in the mirror, the quiet question: can I go further today than I did yesterday? And the answer is always yes, if you're willing to pay the price, because let's be real. It's not easy. There are days where getting out of bed feels like a war. Days when your body is sore, your mind is foggy, and everything in you screams for rest. But that's the moment, the exact moment. You decide what you're made of. That's the moment where champions separate themselves, not because they feel great, but because they made a decision. I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. And done isn't some vague destination. It's daily. It's personal. It's the satisfaction of knowing you gave more today than you did yesterday, that you sharpened the blade a little more, that you didn't let comfort rob you of progress, because comfort is a liar. It whispers that you've done enough, that you've earned the right to coast, that no one's watching, but you are. You're always watching, and deep down, you know whether you gave it everything, whether you left any fire on the table. You want to build confidence, earn it, not by talking louder, not by faking it. Earn it by outworking your past self. Let your efforts speak for you. Let your actions walk louder than your words. Because when you consistently beat who you were yesterday, you start carrying yourself different. You don't need validation from the world. You're already validated by your work. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. You've already proven it to yourself. And that's the real prize, not the trophy, not the applause. It's the peace that comes from knowing you showed up for yourself again and again. The world can doubt you, sleep on you, count you out. But when you keep winning your own battles, their opinions start to sound like background noise. You're not driven by outside noise. You're driven by an internal standard, and that standard doesn't fluctuate with mood. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if the weather's bad. It shows up, because that's what winners do. Every step forward you take, no matter how small, matters. Don't despise the small wins. Don't wait for the big break. Break it yourself, day by day. People talk about overnight success, but you know the truth. There are no overnight successes. Just people who outworked yesterday for years until the world finally noticed. So keep grinding in the shadows. Keep doing the work when no one claps. The results are coming. The break is coming, but only if you earn it. And you earn it by being consistent, not intense for a week, not perfect for a month, consistent for a lifetime. You outwork yesterday even when yesterday was great, because greatness is never owned. It's rented, and rent is due every single day. You can't coast off a good week. You can't lean on old wins. If you're not building, you're backsliding. Progress doesn't have cruise control. That's the trap most people fall into. They get a little success, a little recognition, and they slow down. But that's when you've got to press harder. When others are easing off, you go into overdrive. When they celebrate, you recalibrate. Because you know the truth, every level you reach demands a new version of you. You can't take yesterday's grind into tomorrow's battle. You need more, sharper focus, deeper drive, tighter habits, so write it down, make it real. What did you do yesterday, and what can you do today to beat it? Be specific, not vague. Vague doesn't win. Discipline wins, clarity wins. If you did 10 reps yesterday, do 11 today. If you studied for 30 minutes, make it 40. Push the line forward, inch by inch. That's the blueprint. The thing is, you don't even need to feel inspired every day. Forget that. You just need to be intentional. Your goals don't need you to feel good. They need you to be committed. They need you to wake up, lock in, and move with urgency. This world doesn't reward lazy. It doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It rewards people who treat every single day like it's a tryout. Like it's a proving ground, like someone's watching even when they're not. And maybe no one else sees what you're doing right now. Maybe your grind is invisible, but it won't be forever. Effort leaves a trail. Work leaves a legacy. And if you keep showing up, keep beating the person you were yesterday, it's only a matter of time before the world sees what you already know, that you're built for this, that you're ready, that you've outworked the doubt, the fear, the excuses, and even your own limitations.